In this video we'll be looking at 7.2 vertical, complementary, and supplementary angles. So our essential question today will be, how do I find the measure of vertical, complementary, and supplementary angles? How do I find the measure of vertical, complementary, and supplementary angles? Well, first we'll need definitions of these three: vertical angles, complementary angles, and supplementary angles. Vertical angles are angles opposite each other. That's the definition, and then the math we know behind them is they are congruent. So we can say that they are congruent or that their measures are equal. So what I can say is that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, and since they're vertical, I can say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, they're opposite each other. Angle 1 and angle 3 are on opposite sides of a vertex, and they are congruent. They are congruent to one another. I could also say the same things about angle 4 and angle 2. I have angle 4 and angle 2, so I can say angle 4 and angle 2 are vertical. And if they're vertical, we can say that they are congruent. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. So that is vertical angles. Next we're going to define complementary angles. And complementary angles are two angles when added together equal 90 degrees. So it's two angles, and when I add them together it equals 90 degrees. So for example, right here, if I took these two angles, I would say angle 1 plus angle 2. So I'm adding them together and it will equal 90 degrees. Okay, so that's complementary angles. Two angles when added together equal 90 degrees. Supplementary angles will be two angles and it's the same idea, two angles when added together, and if they're forming this straight angle right here, if I add angle 1 and angle 2 together, what will they equal? They will equal 180 degrees. So we could set up the same kind of equation, but instead of equaling 90, we'll equal 180. So I could say angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. So let's look at some examples using these ideas. I have two angles and they're going to form a right angle. So are these angles vertical, complementary, or supplementary? Well, if they come together and form a right angle, they're going to be complementary. So we know these are complementary angles. So to solve this, I can say that A plus 32, I will add the two angles together and that will equal 90. And now all I have to do is solve for A. I just have to get A by itself. So we draw our line down the middle. And then since I have a constant, a positive constant, I'll use subtraction to get rid of it. Those cancel and we have A is equal to 90 minus 32 is 58 and it's degrees, because we found the actual measure of the angle. So we'll set up our equations and we'll solve them. On number 2, we have, what kind of angles do we have here? Well, they form a straight angle, so they are the same as supplementary. So this is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles, when added together, equal 180 degrees. So I can add these two together, and all we're doing is we're just writing them with an addition sign in between. I'm going to go x plus 20 plus 50. So I take the two angles, x plus 20, there's angle 1, and then I go plus angle 2 is 50. And then when I add supplementary angles together, it will equal 180. So now I can combine my like terms. So I have x plus 70 equals 180. Draw our line down the middle, and we'll subtract 70 from both sides, using subtraction to remove our positive constant, and we'll have x is equal to 110. This is just what x equals though. We haven't found what angle A equals, because angle A is equal to x plus 20. So I have x is equal to 110, but angle A is equal to x plus 20, which means I'm just going to substitute in that 110. So I get 110 plus 20 equals 130 degrees. So those are my two answers. So I took what angle A equaled. Angle A is equal to that x plus 20. Angle A is x plus 20. And so I had to plug x in. 110 got plugged in. And I did 110 plus 20. And that's how I got the 130 degrees. So now we're going to find the measure of the given angle. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Let's start with ABC. So we're looking for angle ABC. Well, that's the whole thing, so that's a straight angle. So what's ABC going to equal if it's a straight angle? That's going to be 180 degrees. Okay, angle B is EBC. Well, whenever we see that box in the middle, we know what that's going to equal. That's going to equal 90 degrees. So now we got to find angle EBF. So we go EBF. Well, we are looking for angle EBF. So we'll say angle EBF. We can use complementary angles because EBF is complementary to FBC. So I'm going to add this angle plus this angle. So EBF plus FBC, so that's 35 degrees. And if they're complementary, what will they equal? They'll equal the box, which is equal to what number? 90 degrees. Draw our line. Undo that positive or addition with subtraction. And we'll get angle EBF. And I do 90 minus 35, and we have 55 degrees. So angle EBF is equal to 55 degrees. Now we'll do, oh, off the page. Now we'll do angle DBC. So I'm looking for angle DBC. Well, we know this angle is 55. And to find DBC, we're going to have to fill in DBE. We need this angle right here. So I got to find this angle first, and then I'll add all three up to find the whole thing. So this problem kind of has like two parts to it. So let's find angle DBE. Well, I know DBE is complementary to 53. So I'm going to say angle DBE plus 53 equals 90. So then I will subtract 53 from both sides. And we have angle DBE is equal to 90 minus 53 would be 37 degrees. So now I can fill this in with 37 degrees. That doesn't mean I'm not done with this problem, because this problem is asking for angle DBC. I just had to fill this in so I could have all three angles that make up DBC. So if I'm finding the whole thing, I'll just add all three together. So angle DBC, the question that we're really looking for, is equal to 37 plus 55 plus 35. And that will equal 127. Like that. 37 plus 55 plus 35, so we had 37, 55, 35. We add them all up, and that's equal to 127. Okay, let's flip to the back. So we're just going to answer some of these questions using our definitions. We're looking for supplementary and vertical angles. Angle 1 and angle 2, are those supplementary? Do they form a straight line or a straight angle? They don't, because there's a bend right there, so we cannot call those supplementary. So that is a no. Are angle 3 and angle 4 supplementary? Do they form a straight line when we look at them right next to each other? Well, right next to each other, their two bottom sides do form a straight line, so that's a yes. Angle 2 and angle 4, are they vertical? They're not 100% vertical because they're not completely opposite each other. We need this whole angle to be opposite. They're not the same size, and they're just not 100% opposite each other. So we can say no to vertical angles. But angle 3 and angle 5 are. They have the vertex that they share, they're about the same size, and they're on opposite sides with nothing kind of cutting them in half or anything, so we can say yes. So if angle 3 is 45 degrees, how big is angle 4? Well, what do we know about these two angles? Well, angle 3 and angle 4 are, they're either complementary or supplementary or vertical. Which one is it? Angle 3 and angle 4 are supplementary, so I can say angle 3 plus angle 4, so this is for letter E, angle 3 plus angle 4 will equal 180. Well, my problem tells me that angle 3 is equal to 45, so I can plug that in. I have 45 plus angle 4 is equal to 180. Now we'll get rid of, we want to remove our positives so we can solve. So we'll say subtract 45 from both sides, subtract 45 from both sides, and we get angle 4 is equal to, do my math, and I get 135 degrees. Okay, so we'll say 135 degrees. Now let's look at angle 5 and angle 3. Angle 5 and angle 3 are opposite each other. So when they're opposite, this is letter F, I can say angle 5 is equal to angle 3. Opposite angles, or vertical angles, are congruent. So I plug in my value, so I have 53 degrees is equal to angle 3. And look, no math needed to be done. We figured out what angle 3 is equal to, 53 degrees. Okay, one more problem. Okay, so this is how we want to think about these. We want to do just a little bit at a time and try to figure out what we can work with. So if I want to figure out what x and y equals, well, I have two different ways. I have one way I'm going to do that is, let's look at the x's first. And what do I know about x's in comparison to the 58? We can't figure out the x and y at the same time. It's just not going to work. So we just need to focus on the x's and use the information we have. Well, x plus 12 is vertical of 58, and vertical angles are equal. So I can say to find x plus 12 equals 58, and that's because of vertical angles. And now to solve this problem, I remove my constant, a positive constant with subtraction, so I get x is equal to 46. So now I have 46 right here. Now when I look at the y angle, AEB, if I look at this angle, what's its relationship to the other angle that I have a value for? Well, these two angles that are right next to each other, this is for my y minus 15, well, they are supplementary angles. And what do we know about supplementary angles? They create a straight line, and when we add them together, y minus 15 plus 58, that will equal 180. So now I combine my like terms. I have different signs, so I need to subtract these numbers. 58 minus 15 will be 43. Minus is so y is equal to, we have 43, so I have plus 43 is equal to 180, just combining my like terms. Negative 15 and 58 is positive 43. Now to remove my positive constant, I subtract 43, and we get y is equal to 137. So now I have 137. Now we can just go through and figure out each angle by plugging in. So I know that angle AEB, so angle AEB is equal to y minus 15. I plug in my y is 137, so I'll say 137 minus 15, and that is equal to 137 minus 15 is 122 degrees. So there's that one. Now we'll move on to angle CEA. So I know that angle CEA is equal to CEA x plus 12. We'll plug our x in, 46, x equals 46, so I plug that in, and I get equals 46 plus 12, which will equal 58 degrees. And then if we look at DEC, well, it's vertical of AEB. So AEB and DEC are equal. So I can use that idea to help me finish up this problem. So we'll say that angle AEB is equal to angle DEC, vertical angles. So I can plug in, AEB is 122 degrees, and so that helped me find the measure of angle DEC. So we have 122 degrees. One thing I did want to write is what this one, how we put this piece together. Remember, that was because they are supplementary angles. So that's how we can use complementary, vertical, vertical, complementary, and supplemental angles to help us solve for angle measurements. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.